Hello students. Life is full of uncertainties, but there will always be a sunrise after every sunset. Welcome to Biodigest. So, every organ in your body requires the involvement of the circulating body fluids, isn't it? For example, the digestive system. What is the digestive system doing in your body? It is actually helping in digestion of food materials, then absorbing the nutrients. After that, with the help of the circulating body fluids, the nutrients has to be transported to each and every cell of your body. That means your body actually requires circulating body fluids to carry out the functions properly. So we are going to deal with the circulatory system. There are three principal body fluids. Which are they? One is blood, which is actually present in the heart as well as in the blood vessels. The blood vessels include arteries, veins, and capillaries. We will see this later on. Another is the tissue fluid, which actually occupies the spaces between the cells. Okay, so this occupy spaces between the cells. And the third one is the lymph. Lymph, which is actually contained within lymph vessels. So all these are the three fluids that is actually helping in circulation. One is blood, that is flowing through heart and the blood vessels. Tissue fluid, which is occupying the spaces between the cells, and the lymph, which is actually flowing through the lymph vessels. Now, what are the differences between open circulatory system and closed circulatory system? We will discuss that. Which type of circulatory system do we humans possess? Any idea? Yes, we are having closed circulatory system. So what do you mean by a closed circulatory system? In closed circulatory system, the blood is pumped by the heart and is carried through blood vessels. So that is closed circulatory system. Blood vessels, in the sense I told you, arteries, veins and capillaries are actually carrying the blood in our body. Then what about open circulatory system? The blood that is pumped by the heart will be passing into the body cavity called sinuses. So that means the blood will be entering into open spaces, the body cavity called sinuses. So we will discuss the differences between open and closed circulatory system. Okay, so here blood vessels are involved. Blood is carried through blood vessels. Here it is entering into open spaces, or open spaces called the body cavities, called sinuses. Then, in open circulatory system, the blood will be flowing with very low pressure. So, low pressure. Closed circulatory system, the blood will be usually flowing with high pressure. Then, in open circulatory system, the blood is actually in direct contact with the tissues. Whereas in closed circulatory system, The blood is not having any direct contact with the tissues. Why? Because the blood is actually flowing through blood vessels. Then, open circulatory system is actually seen in insects, mollusks, arthropods, etc. Closed circulatory system is actually seen in all the vertebrates, echinoderms, etc. Apart from all these three circulating fluids, there are some non-circulating fluids present in the body. For example, vitreous humor that is present in the eye, then synovial fluid that is associated with synovial joints. All these are actually non-circulating fluid. That means they will be found only in that particular area. It will not get circulated. Okay, so circulating and non-circulating fluids both are present in your body. But circulating fluids are playing a very important role. We will discuss what are they. We will see what are the functions carried out by the blood. We can actually divide that under two headings. One is transport. Okay, functions of blood. One is transport by the blood. What all things are transported by the blood? Second is protection by the blood. Blood is also helping in protection. Okay. So we are learning the functions of the blood under two headings. One is transportation process that is carried out by the blood. Another is the protection that is offered by the blood. First we will discuss about the transport by the blood. What all things are transported by the blood? One is blood is actually helping in the transportation of digested food materials. Digested food materials are transported from the alimentary canal to the tissues. Okay. Second is blood will be helping in transporting oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. So what will be in return, what will be carried back? Blood will be helping in transporting carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs so that it can be excreted out. While we studied the endocrine system, we have learned that there are certain secretions that is poured directly into the blood. So it is the blood that is actually carrying these secretions, the so-called hormones, to the target organs. So hormones are actually carried to the target organs with the help of the blood. Then another thing, the excretory materials like urine, sweat, etc. All these are carried to the respective excretory organs so that it can be excreted out. So excretion, blood is also helping in excretory process. Then distribution of heat. You know that you are having a normal body temperature. Why we humans are having a normal body temperature? The blood helps in keeping the temperature of the body uniform by distributing heat. So that is distribution of heat. So all these are the functions that is carried out by the blood. This is actually coming under the heading transport by the blood. Now, protection by the blood. In what all manner the blood is providing protection? One is, imagine that you are having an injury. What happens after few seconds? or maybe it will take minutes. What will happen? The injured portion, if you are observing, you will be able to see a clot. Okay. So by forming a clot, this blood is actually preventing the further loss of the blood. So blood is having the capacity to form a clot. Thereby it will prevent the further loss of blood from the body. So that is one method of protection, isn't it? Another is WBCs, that is the white blood cell. We will come across this in this particular chapter. WBCs, that is the white blood cells, they are having a property. They will engulf disease-causing microorganisms like bacteria, viruses, etc. Okay, so in that manner also, the blood is offering protection to the body. It produces antitoxins and antibodies, which neutralizes the poisonous substances that has entered inside our body. So in that way, the blood is providing protection to the body. So these are actually the functions that is carried out by the blood. Now talking about blood, what is the color of blood? Blood, when it is taken from an artery, it will be bright red. And when taken from a vein, it will be dark red in color. So bright red when taken from an artery and dark red when taken from a vein. An average adult will be usually having almost 5 to 6 liters of blood in his body. Okay, the volume of blood in a normal adult is 5 to 6 liters. Then what is the taste of the blood? It's actually saltish. What about the nature, whether it is acidic, basic or alkaline? Yes, of course. The blood is slightly alkaline with a pH of 7.3 to 7.45. Now let us discuss the composition of blood. Blood consists of a liquid part which is called as plasma. So plasma is actually the liquid part of the blood, which actually constitute about 55% to 60%. The second constituent of the blood is the cellular elements, which almost consists of 40 to 45%. The cellular elements includes RBC, that is red blood cells, otherwise called as erythrocyte. WBCs, that is white blood cells, and blood platelets. Now what is plasma? I told you that it is actually the liquid part of the blood. It is a light yellow colored alkaline liquid. What is the composition of blood plasma? Blood plasma contains 90 to 92% of water, 7 to 8% proteins, 1% of inorganic salt. Inorganic salts mainly include sodium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, etc. That is inorganic salts, which makes up 1%. And other substances which are present in traces. What are these other substances referred to? Other substances actually include glucose, amino acids, fibrinogen, etc. Fibrinogen is actually a protein. We will come across this when we deal with blood clotting process. Okay, at that time I will be explaining about fibrinogen. So this is the composition of blood plasma. The plasma from which protein fibrinogen has been removed, it is what is called as serum. So this can sometimes come for the board exam. What is serum? So how will you define it? It is the plasma from which protein fibrinogen has been removed. That is called as serum. So with that, the liquid part of the blood, that is plasma, is over. Now coming to the cellular elements. Let us first discuss about RBCs, otherwise red blood cells or erythrocytes. What is the shape of an RBC? RBCs are actually biconcave disc-like structure. Okay, it's having a biconcave disc-like shape. I'm lightly shading in the middle. Okay, so biconcave disc-like structure is the shape of an RBC. So you have to write the shape, biconcave disc-like structure. This is the shape of an RBC. Where are these RBCs produced? RBCs are actually produced in the bone marrow. What is the average lifespan of an RBC? The RBC's lifespan is actually 120 days, after which they will be getting destroyed in the liver and in the spleen. So this is the shape of an RBC. There will be a concavity in the middle. Okay, sides you can see that it is actually bulged. Biconcave disc-like structure, that means the other side also there will be a concavity on both the sides. And the sides will be bulged. Okay, that is what is known as biconcave disc-like structure. So I told you that these are actually produced in the bone marrow in the case of an adult. What about in an embryo? In an embryo, the RBCs are actually produced in the liver and the spleen. Okay, now what is the speciality of this RBCs? When the RBCs are formed, they will be actually having nucleus. But when they start to mature, what happens is that they become enucleated. That means the nucleus will be lost. So, question can come. What is the benefit of this RBCs in not having the nucleus? So, when the nucleus is absent, when the RBCs mature, what is actually happening? The surface area will be increased. That means when the RBCs becomes enucleated, when they mature, the surface area of the RBCs is getting increased. Thereby, it will be able to absorb more amount of oxygen. Then, two other organelles are also absent along with nucleus. RBCs also lacks mitochondria. So what is the benefit of the absence of mitochondria for an RBC? When the mitochondria is absent, what happens is that mitochondria, you know that they are called as the powerhouse of the cell. So when RBCs are lacking mitochondria, they will not be using oxygen by itself for respiration. So whatever oxygen is absorbed on the surface of the RBCs will be delivered to the tissues and consumed. Without consuming any amount of oxygen, Whatever oxygen is absorbed by the RBCs, that will be delivered to the tissues. That is the benefit of not having mitochondria. RBCs also lacks endoplasmic reticulum. So when endoplasmic reticulum is absent, what happens is that this increases the flexibility of the RBCs, so that the RBCs will be able to move through fine narrow capillaries. So all these three can come for the board exam. Lack of nucleus increases the surface area for absorption of more amount of oxygen. Then lack of mitochondria means the RBCs will not use oxygen for itself. So all the oxygen that is absorbed by the RBCs will be delivered to the tissues and consumed. Absence of endoplasmic reticulum means it increases the flexibility of the RBCs, so that the RBCs can move through fine narrow capillaries. Now RBCs contain one pigment. It is what is known as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin actually consists of two parts, that is hemin and globin. Hemin is actually an iron containing part and globin is a protein containing part. So hemoglobin is actually a respiratory pigment that is present on the surface of the RBCs. Hemoglobin has the ability to combine readily with oxygen so as to produce a compound called as oxyhemoglobin. This oxyhemoglobin will be carried and this can be delivered to the tissues. Okay, oxygen can be delivered to the tissues. Let us recall the circulatory system. Fluids in our body. There are three principal fluids in our body: blood, tissue fluid and lymph. Non-circulating fluids are also present in our body like the synovial fluid and vitreous humor. The composition of the blood. The blood consists of a fluid part called as plasma, which constitutes 55 to 60% of the blood. Along with that, cellular elements are also present, which makes up 40 to 45% of the blood, which includes RBCs or erythrocytes, then WBCs and blood platelets. Coming to the fluid part of the blood, that is blood plasma. Plasma is a light yellow colored alkaline liquid mainly consisting of 90 to 92% water, 7 to 8% proteins, 1% of inorganic salts which mainly include sodium chloride and sodium bicarbonate, and traces of other substances like glucose, amino acids, fibrinogen, hormones, etc. Serum. The plasma from which the protein fibrinogen has been removed is called serum. Red blood cells, otherwise erythrocytes. In adults, the RBCs are produced in the marrow of long bones. In an embryo, they are produced in the liver and spleen. The mature red blood cells have no nuclei, but when they are being produced, they have one. The average life of an RBC is about 120 days. Mammalian red blood cells lack nucleus, mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum. Loss of nucleus makes the red cells biconcave, thus increasing their surface area volume ratio for absorbing more oxygen. Loss of mitochondria means that the red cells cannot use oxygen for themselves for cellular respiration. Thus, all the oxygen absorbed from the lungs is transported and delivered to the tissues unconsumed. Absence of endoplasmic reticulum means increased flexibility of RBCs for their movement through narrow capillaries. Please do subscribe BioDigest. Thank you.